It's all right.
Okay, we're gonna go in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, Steve Gillmor. This is the Gillmor Gang. I have nothing else to say, so I'm going to turn it over to Robert Scoble. Welcome, Robert.
Hey, what's up, man?
You tell me.
I'm still wearing my glass 2.5 weeks later.
Yeah, I think that message has been delivered on the internet.
Yes.
And no, I'm not taking off my shirt or getting in the shower this show.
Also welcome Keith Teare.
Hey, nice to see you again, Robert. I bumped into him in University Avenue 2 nights ago, and he was wearing the glass then as well with Shell Israel.
That was fun seeing you in the street.
And Kevin Marks from 96 Degrees San Diego. Welcome. I mean, whatever
San Jose.
that is. San Jose, right?
Yes. It's very nice today. Lovely.
It's nice in Half Moon Bay, which tells me it's warm over the hill.
All right, we've got our tech somewhat in order. So where do you want to start? I'm throwing it open to you guys.
Well, I'll kick it off. I was at the next web conference in Amsterdam and the next conference, and doing a lot of traveling. And it was really interesting. For the first time, I speak to students there every year at the university in Amsterdam. And for the first time, not a single student was not on Facebook, if that made sense. I asked everybody who's not on Facebook, who doesn't have a Facebook account. Not a single hand went up. And I was thinking, what do we do on Gillmor Gang? We talk about bleeding edge technologies, so I guess Facebook has to be checked off the list.
Why is that?
Because it's ubiquitous now.
And that
We
doesn't
like
mean-
to talk about things that are not yet ubiquitous, that might be ubiquitous. You know.
Well, we could
Did
change
you-
the format completely.
I noticed that All Things Deep published a chart they made up themselves after the earnings call that showed the declining rate of growth, which was interesting that they focused on that.
I just based on this little tiny audience in Amsterdam, how do you grow after you get everybody to use it? It's a real problem, isn't it? Or you have to change expectations for investors. What
Yeah,
they're
I mean,
gonna
I don't know what grow means when you've got all available users.
Right.
Start milking them for honey.
Why is that?
So that's just what they're doing. I think because the business guys are running the show now more than the
But
product
their
guys.
ARPU was down, though, wasn't it? The revenue per user was down.
I didn't notice that, but that would be an interesting fact. I'd expect that to happen because I do not expect that they can monetize mobile at the same ARPU as they can monetize the web. Although it was interesting, 300 million of their revenue came from mobile, which is up
It's
from
about
zero.
30% of this earnings came from mobile.
And that's up from zero only 3 quarters ago. So they're doing an awesome job at the level of revenue and transitioning to mobile. They're doing an awesome job. You got to give them credit, I think, in every single way. But you do anticipate a declining rate of growth in revenue as that transition happens, just because mobile is harder to monetize. By the way, I'm spending money with them right now. I'm a customer. And they have built an absolutely awesome app install ecosystem. I mean, I am spending a small amount of money for a lot of installs for Just.me, and it's working all over the world really well.
So, Robert, I noticed that you did a hangout earlier today with BetaWorks.
Yeah.
Can you give me the highlights of what
Well,
you
even developer audiences haven't yet seen the glass and really haven't walked through the UI and gotten a good sense of what they do. So they're still in the dreaming mode, and they're trying to figure out, is there a potential new company here? Should they build apps for it? And so I just walked them through what I am experiencing in my first 2.5 weeks using these, and where I see a new affordance. So certainly voice response is a new affordance. You can talk to your glass like, okay, glass, take a picture. And it does, right? And because that's the first level experience, it has a new affordance for product. I now want to have a dialogue with product. And this week I went to SRI, where Siri and the mouse and the internet were developed, among other things. And they showed me a new banking website that they're working on with a major bank, where you just talk to the bank. Now you're not talking to a human, you're talking to a computer, but you just talk to it like you would, almost like with Siri. In fact, they called it Siri 2.0. And it's amazing that you can talk to a bank about like mortgages and then context switch and talk about your credit cards. And then you can come back to the mortgages and it remembers what you were talking to the bank about, just like a human would. But it's the future of user interface right there.
I don't think it's the future of user interface. I mean, the widespread feedback I think is valid, which is not enough people will want to wear these, but that it represents a step towards something awesome. I think that's roughly right. But I don't think the glasses bit is what's awesome. It's kind of experiencing your life as you go through it with something you wear. That kind of makes sense. I'm not sure the glasses piece is the right implementation.
Yeah, but if you're going to want to put a screen in front of me and a thing that you just talk to normally, like you would a human, I don't know how you can do that without a glasses or something on my face, right?
Yeah. Well, therein lies the problem, because there's enough negatives. I mean, I know you're very balanced about this, Robert, so I'm not having a go at you at all.
Yeah.
We all recognize the negatives, which is the distracted look and the attention appearing not to be with the person you're in a dialogue with, and those are not trivial.
Oh, that's
things.
just the way Robert looks anyway.
That's fair to say. So, I mean, yeah. Keep in mind, when I talk to people, I've talked to hundreds of people now with these on, you're not looking through them. They're not on. They're not distracting me. It's only when I touch them and I start looking up at that screen and start thinking about what's up there. Then you notice the screen's on and my eyes are up here. You know that I'm not looking at you. And that's why they don't turn the thing on when texts or notifications come in. They chime. And I think that was a very smart choice to not distract the wearer. It's certainly less distracting, though, for me to look up here and still be looking in your general direction than look down at a cell phone and start playing with Facebook or at a video game on my
So
phone.
when they chime, let me just quickly ask a question. When they chime for notifications, do they visualize the notification?
No, does not turn
at
on.
all. So it's just this ambient chime that
It
does
chimes, and therefore something's waiting for you. And then I can finish this conversation, and then after the Gillmor gang, I'll turn it on and I'll start looking through my emails and notifications and other things.
So wouldn't it be better to have a configurable ability to be able to recall them instead of having to? I mean, the whole point of a notification is to let you know at the time. It seems
you have
like
a
you're
choice
getting less
now.
information now.
No, it's not less. It's different. It chimes. It lets you know something came in. If you want to go and look at it, okay, I can go look at it, and then I can turn it off, and now I'm back to the conversation.
Okay.
It's a lot less distracting for the conversation doing that than for me to pick up my phone, play with my phone, turn it on, look for the notifications, then turn it off, and then, oh yeah, hey, what were we talking about again? Yeah.
I don't know if it's truly less distracting. But
It absolutely is. I've done this 100 times now.
Well, I was going to say, even if it is, it's less socially normal from the point of view of the person you're talking to.
That is true, but humans change their behavior. I remember having arguments with people. I'm never going to do email, and now everybody does. And IM will never be used in business. Now it's built into Microsoft Exchange and Lotus Notes. Oh, no, I'm never going to be on Facebook. I had hundreds of people tell me that, or tell me that Twitter was lame. And now they're on Twitter.
Yeah, but you're comparing it to things that have worked out. I could say we're never going to poop in public, and I'm probably right. Human beings don't always change.
It's
Wow.
popular in San Francisco.
I'm looking for the glass gesture. I better not be pooping in public. Okay, well, I just a little counterpoint to this, and I think this is where we're all going to go with this discussion eventually, is as another entrant or two come in. But on the Mini, when a push notification comes in, it hits the lock screen. It doesn't. It's not. It's something where I can.
I mean, in 1995, if you said everybody in 20 years is going to have some sort of device in their hand like this guy does, and everybody's going to walk around, you would have said, no way. And look at the picture, right? Humans.
I don't know. No, you would. I don't think you would have said no way. I would have said you.
No, absolutely, you would have said no way.
Go and read what I wrote in 1995.
Technology comes out, people say it doesn't happen. I remember using a credit card for the first time in Starbucks and having people pissed at me in line saying, "What the fuck? We pay cash like everybody else."
Now, Robert, in 1995, I was running the world's first cyber cafe, and we had See You, See Me on every computer. And people were doing video, text chat.
Right.
All
Well,
around the world.
that was the bleeding edge. I mean,
Yeah.
that was way before.
I had see me too, and it was awesome.
But we all knew that handheld computers. I mean, Newton wasn't just, even though it didn't work out, we all knew it was a
Well,
valid,
if we knew
valid
it,
directionally.
if we knew it, we only knew that eventually Steve Jobs would figure out how to be able to make it work.
Yeah.
Because
Actually, this picture
the
of-
stuff with
Carl
Microsoft's
made it work first.
net meeting. I mean, we all did net meeting and all this kind of crap for 10 years before it was even possible.
In fact, this picture, it's not 95, it was 2005, the top picture. And in just 8 years, society changed that much. And we forget that society changes that fast, But every new technology has had people tell me that they think it's freaky. The Unix heads at school told me that nobody would use a Macintosh. Only babies would use a Macintosh. Only people who need training wheels would use a mouse and Windows. And I said, "You're full of shit." And I was right. Right now, they all use the Macintosh. It's sort of
Yeah,
fun.
and now they need training wheels to use Windows 8.
But there are some occasions when the people who push back are right. I mean, you're focusing quite rightly from your argument's point of view. You're right to focus on those things.
Give me
But
one.
there's people who push back being right.
Yeah, give me one.
Segway?
No, they weren't right.
No,
They were right, maybe for the wrong reason. They didn't understand what they were. Segway didn't take off for a whole lot of reasons. First of all, there's no Moore's law that's going to happen with Segway. It's not going to change its behavior over time. Google Glass, absolutely. Moore's law is in play all over this thing. And in fact, at SRI, they showed me what the next 4 to 5 versions of Google Glass could look like. Unbelievable changes are coming to this product over the next decade.
So do this. Compare Star Trek: The Next Generation, the crew versus the Borg. Think about the communications that Captain Jean-Luc Picard has with his computer and his devices.
He has
versus the Borg.
He has a wearable,
and they're both wearable futures. They both have the ability to do the same thing, but one is kind of plugged into the brain and the eyes, and the other one is usable by human beings. So I'm not disagreeing with your future. I'm just saying the way of implementing it might not be this.
Yeah,
by the
and
way,
that's what I was
Google,
trying to get at.
Google today just released. Somebody just posted a Google Watch patent. So Google's working on other wearables. So I think Google's well aware that this is not going to be used by 100% of people. For instance, Thomas Hawk, one of my friends, is blind in his right eye. He can't even use this product. So there will be lots of people who aren't willing to wear something on their face, and maybe are willing to wear a pin, like the Memoto camera, for instance. I was wearing one of those. It takes a picture every 30 seconds and is a new kind of contextual camera. Or is going to wear something on their wrist, the Nike Fuel Band, the Fitbit, the Basis watch, like this thing. We might be willing to wear something on our wrist, but not on our face. Me, I'm over it. This thing has changed my life so completely. I am never, ever going to live a day without something in my eye, on my face. And if that makes me the Borg, that's cool.
Well, then,
we have a secret gang sign now when we meet each other. Hey, Borg. Yeah. It's true. My friend Andy has a pair, and I've interviewed a couple other people who've had Google Glass on, and it's like, Borg, yeah. It's like we're in a part of a secret club, and it's sort of fun. But
well, so then the next question is, what is the software that makes it even better? I mean, what other range of things somebody wants to do with this?
Well, let me tell you what I saw at SRI on Wednesday, because it's pretty mind-blowing. They showed me a pair of binoculars, augmented reality binoculars. So they had two 1080p sensors in this binocular and two high-res displays. They were much higher res than this. This is a 640 by 320 display, I think. The military now has displays like this that are up to 4K in resolution for jet fighter pilots and stuff like that. But these binoculars had two of these 1080p displays in them, so you look through them. And what did the binocular do? It let me tag buildings or people or trucks or things that I was looking at through high resolution. So I could look at that building and say, tag it, and I could leave a message on the building, like blow this one up. and I could tag a little message onto this building. And then somebody else in the world who was looking at that same building with a pair of binoculars would see that tag in the right dimension, in the right place. And pretty mind-blowing technology to be able to put a geo tag on something in 3D space and then have it viewable by anybody around that building or that truck. Then they put some virtual actors on the ground, some soldiers. And these soldiers were running through the trees correctly. In other words, running through the trees, the soldier was in front of some of the trees and behind other trees. And it was running through the tree and walking through the tree. And as I was looking at the soldiers and trying to pick out, like I was a sniper, right? The soldier was so realistic, even as the binocular was shaking and moving, the image was moving around, the soldier was moving around like it would be in real life. It was so lifelike that it was hard to detect that was a virtual soldier on the ground. It was unbelievable. Now, what I just saw was the future of paintball. Now, the military is paying for this to train snipers and people who are running drones and doing all sorts of stuff with technology in the military. And it's a $10,000 device right now to do this. But we know what the Moore's Law does. So in 5 to 10 years, we're going to have that as Xbox 6.0. And we're going to have Xbox 6.0 on our glasses, and we're going to be able to walk around the world and play games with each other in really realistic augmented reality, which is just mind-blowing. So that's like the fourth version of Google Glass, right? It's like 10 years from now, maybe.
So you're going to have to wear these things for 10 years in order to be able to get to when it's interesting?
Well, this to me reminds me of the Apple II. When I unboxed the Apple II with my dad in 1977, it cost $3,000 for the box. It had no software. There was no apps. It had 2 apps, and it came on a cassette tape drive. But instantly, we both knew that this device was going to kick off a 20 to 30-year discovery pattern. It was changing our life just because it existed. And that's how this feels. This feels like I'm now on another 20-year discovery pattern of things that are possible here that will come out in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. and be wearable, and and the military is just ahead because they can afford a really expensive version of this, and they'll pay the research to do things like tagging buildings with a binocular and having binoculars with these higher res sensors in them. So yeah, it's we might have to wait 5, 10, 15 years. I had the first one of the first tablet PCs at NEC. It was a 1/4 inch thick. It looked like the iPad. That was 2002, and it took till 2009 for everybody else to get one that basically was the same thing. I mean,
And I used to wear platform shoes that were yellow, red, and green. I was sure they were the future.
you can never guess fashion, man.
Well, I don't think that you can guess technology either. I think that what happens is that something resonates like this does for you, and I can certainly understand why you're mesmerized by it. But I also, what to me it suggests is what's going to come next. I mean, the iPad, for example, when it first started, we were all over the moon about it. Mike Arrington had invented it about 3 years earlier, and certainly it's been in the works since Bill Gates did something that was a failure about it. And we could look at what the tablet computing that Microsoft did as a forerunner and a sort of a version of this. But the thing about Google Glasses for me is that it both opens the opportunity for the innovation and it constrains the innovation by putting a sort of a line in the sand about where the technology, the bandwidth, the privacy, all of the constraints that govern this implementation, it sort of puts a marker there that other companies can take advantage of. And that's why I think, the iPad mini is overwhelming the middle of the market. It's, Apple went from 0% to 30% in terms of these mid-sized objects, and if the rumors are correct, Microsoft's going to come in with a 7-inch device. This, to me, is the platform now.
Yeah.
And what that says is that some version, to me, is that some version of what you have on your head is going to come out of this that is going to be transformational. Taking nothing away from Google. I mean, to me, the things that are interesting about this are the things that you can't do with it, given the fact that they have such enormous resources in terms of, sensors all over the place and the kind of data that they are consuming. It surprises me that they, it doesn't surprise me. They're at an early stage of this. And the kinds of things that you're thinking about as far as the military, I don't think the military is going to drive this as much as just regular Google data is going to drive this. As they unencumber it and as they convince us that it's okay for us to be able to emit this and for them to use it. Yeah. That's the innovation, I think.
Yep. It does surprise me what it doesn't do. I mean, lots of people have an expectation that this is recording. My wife, when I got it home, said, does that do face detection? And it doesn't do that. It doesn't do video streaming. It doesn't do live recording of the world around me. The battery life is so limiting on this thing that I can totally understand why Google made the technology choices it did. And then when you look at the technology in here, there's absolutely nothing in here that is really expensive. There's a TI chip in here, a processor that you can buy for a few dollars. There's a memory chip in here. There's a cheap camera in here. It's not even as good as what's in your modern cell phone, and a cheap battery. There's no technology in here. So this thing, I think, was designed for a $200 price point. Now, whether it'll be $200 at first, I don't know. Maybe it'll be $500. But clearly, Larry Page and his team, or Sergey and his team, are trying to design this for a very low price point, for a very mass market kind of audience, and a lower price than a high end cell phone.
That brings up there was an announcement, or maybe it was just a conjecture on the part of a writer about the glasses soon to work with the iPhone. That right now they work with the iPhone, but you can't use turn-by-turn directions, for example, with it.
Yeah.
And I think where Google has really got to be smart about this is in making it ubiquitous across. In other words, not trying to prop up or extend the Android moment by making this only work on the Google.
Well, first of all, this
franchise.
is Android, right? This is running Android 4 point something in here.
Yeah. So what?
I look at it completely differently. Since getting this on my face, I have moved probably 30% of my cell phone time into this. So notifications, texting, lightweight answering of email. I don't look at my phone to answer the phone anymore. It just, if Steve Gillmor calls me, it says Steve Gillmor's calling, and I can pick up the phone without picking up my phone.
Can you do Skype on it yet?
Well, you could do a Google Hangout, so therefore you should be able to do Skype if Skype did an app for this, right? There's nothing technically limiting you from doing a Skype call. It's an Android phone. The way you should think about this is a cell phone without the cell radio on your face with a small screen that you can't really touch. I mean, they do have a touchpad here that you can tap or scroll down or scroll this way or that way, right?
So to me, that's a killer use case for it. Is if they presented this to market as video calls whilst you're walking around the house or the garden, I think that would be a great go-to-market, more than recording everything you see in front of you.
Well, keep in mind, when you're on a video call, you're seeing my perspective, not the camera looking at me.
The camera's going the way.
That's true, yeah.
It's not that useful, and the battery life just simply is not there for a long... and a 1 hour video call would eat almost all the battery.
Right.
So... I don't think you're going to do a video call unless you're a dweeb like me. I actually I forgot my battery, but I plug in an external battery and then it goes all day long. I really don't care about the battery life anymore. Where was I going to go with this?
Well, what you were saying is that you see this a different way. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's just the screen froze for a second.
Okay, how about now?
Same for me. It's fine now.
Yep.
Okay. So when I say, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
The answer would be yes. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So you were saying that you look at it a different way, and I think it's insightful that you say that this is really a phone.
Well, it's a
over.
piece of a phone,
But it's a significant part of a smartphone, and it's your connection into the Siri-like environment.
It's not a replacement for the phone. You can't get rid of your phone because you buy this. The phone is still what connects you to the outside world. And personally, there's some apps that are going to be nicer on a flat surface rather than try to do something with your head. Angry Birds, for instance. I can't foresee, controlling a bird with my head and fling in it. I'd rather use my finger and fling it on a flat surface like a tablet PC or a phone. And working, moving things around and changing the relationships with each other is going to be far better on a tablet than on the phone. Typing even, the voice recognition is pretty good, but it sucks in a lot of ways. In fact, at SRI, they showed me how Siri sucks and how Google Voice or Google's voice, the voice recognition in the Google products, how it sucks. For instance, if I say, okay, Glass, navigate me or direct me to 25 Pinehurst Lane. It doesn't understand the address very well. It's really inaccurate on addresses and place names and stuff like that. And SRI has a way to fix that, but they're fixing it for the military, and therefore it's not done for the military. So I'm looking like that's going to be 4 or 5 years before that fix gets into a product I can wear, that costs $200, $300.
Well, I don't. I think that's the first thing you said that's wrong. It's going to be a lot faster than that. Why would it take so long? I mean, in terms of having a product that uses voice recognition at the same level as typing, I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Because they were showing me prototypes that are being designed right now for the military. They're building a translator, a voice translator that they'll use on the ground in like Iran or whatnot, and it speaks Arabic or Farsi to the person that you're talking to, and it's full duplex. So I can, be having a conversation with somebody else in live time. And right now, the addresses aren't very accurate. The same things that are inaccurate in your smartphone when you talk to it, whether it be Siri or whether it be Google's voice, is inaccurate in their translation device. Because keep in mind, SRI developed Nuance. Nuance was born at SRI. Siri was born at SRI, and a lot of the Google-style technologies were born there too.
But that's not why I don't think it's ever going to work. The reason that I've struggled, going back to Dragon Systems, and trying to write a chapter of a book with voice recognition is, first of all, I mean, the word nuance is extremely instructive. There is no nuance. There is no subtlety. There is no irony in voice recognition. You can do anything with computers eventually, and as the number of inputs on the network in real time continue to mushroom, these things are going to get better. But my main problem with it is that I write from a different place than I talk. Yeah. If I'm talking, I'm not analyzing. There's a certain feedback loop in terms of the way that the words that came before resonate with the ones that are going to come later.
Yeah.
It's just a way of looking at things, and at least for me, obviously, I'm not a prolific writer because the muse doesn't hit very often for me. But I find things in what I write.
Yeah.
I'm as surprised by it as anybody is.
Let me try a little.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Let me try a little demonstration.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Glass, and you're seeing what I'm seeing in my screen.
Right.
Send a message to Miriam Gayamagami Scoble. So that part is accurate, but now let's watch it speak what I am talking. I'm on the Gillmor gang, and it doesn't understand sentences or anything like that.
Misspelled. Okay, excellent.
When most humans misspell.
It doesn't understand fences. I don't understand fences either, actually.
So it and my wife is gonna go, what?
Hey, Robert, just a sidebar. Is Mariam's middle name Tamil, Indian?
No, she's from Iran, and it's Gayamagami is a common name in Tehran, Iran.
I had a friend called Parasati Ganagasabai, and it sounded similar.
Yeah. Anyway, you see, it's fairly accurate, but it doesn't lay out the way we lay out things when we're typing.
Yeah, that's my point. Is that there's a different product associated with it. It doesn't match. The technology does not match to all, forms.
Yeah,
it's great for delivering orders in the military because there's no nuance in an order. Do it now. Fire.
Yeah.
But the conversations where you're, this is why the voice part of the phone is increasingly powerful for me.
Yeah.
Siri although I don't use it a lot, I find when I use it for something, I'll do it again if it works. And so eventually we build up a vocabulary of things that we know work. So it trains us much more than we train it.
By the way, you can whisper to the glass. So, come on. Okay, glass. Okay, glass. Take a picture. And it works, right? Why does that work? Because Google did a really unique parlor trick here to get everybody believing that you could talk in real language to this thing. And it's a great parlor trick. Why does that work?
Okay, well, after we hear from what Keith was trying to say, then you can tell us, okay?
So I want to go back to Jean-Luc Picard.
No, I don't want to change the
No,
subject.
It's the same conversation.
Okay, very good.
But what I want to imagine for you to imagine is to separate the microphone and the camera from the earpiece, from the display, and imagine cooperation as you walk around between multiple things. So the display can be anywhere. The microphone and camera probably are a badge on your chest or somewhere like that. And the earpiece is probably in your ear. And you can do exactly what you're doing now, but including giving third parties a view of you, except when you're walking down the street, when you can't have the display separate. But for every other instance, the cooperation between discrete devices that have discrete purposes, whether it's to listen, to speak, to record, and one to view, that separation is probably more powerful in most contexts. Today we don't have that. I'm sitting here wearing earpiece, the microphone's right in front of me, the screen's right in front of me. They kind of have to be together because they're all connected to each other physically or via wireless. And if you think about what AirPlay starts to bring to the table, with the ability for disparate devices to use each other's facilities, I think you get closer to the glass vision of human computing than you do with the glass.
Kevin, you agree?
I'm not sure. I think, I suspect that this is going to work both ways. I think the other thing is we're going to end up with more displays all over the place, and we're going to be able to take control of those more easily. We've talked about that before on here with the sort of AirPlay for any screen in the neighborhood kind of idea. So you may not need a little one attached to your head all the time. Excuse me. I'm suspicious of the speaking to it all the time thing too, but that may just be my personal preference. There are people who are very comfortable talking to phones all the time in the street, and so I'm just not one of them.
Okay, Robert, what's the parlor trick?
So the parlor trick is you have to read the command exactly as it appears in the glass. So OK Glass, take a photo does not work. You have to say OK Glass, take a picture to take a picture. And when you constrain what you're expecting to hear, your accuracy level goes up to 99.99%. And the fact that this is so accurate on the front end makes you believe that you can talk to it in all the time. It's it really does change everybody's approach to their devices when they play with this for the first time. They get it instantly, and they feel like, oh, I can actually talk to this. Truth is, you can do all the menu choices just by scrolling and tapping as well. So, Kevin, you can do exactly the same thing without talking to it. And because it also never replaces your cell phone, you can always pull out your cell phone and type an address on the cell phone and then send the address over to your phone or over to your glass and have it navigate for you. And that's pretty cool. There's not
send
a
a link
forced
to your phone?
talk. You never have to talk to it. It's just always there.
Okay.
What were you asking, Kevin?
So can it send a link down to your phone? You're mirroring the screen there, but
Yes.
can you say, "Oh, send me the web page down there to read"?
Not the way it is, not the way the apps work yet. But
Because you get the
that
card
would
on
be totally
on your
possible.
eyeball, and then you have actions on that. Can one of those actions be, okay, open this in the browser on on the bigger screen? Is that one of the things they have?
Not yet. Not the way it's
Okay.
not the way it's turned on. But
What bigger screen?
developers would be able to do that no problem. That's not a hard problem to solve, right?
Yeah.
What do you mean by open on the bigger screen? What is the bigger screen you speak of?
Well, any bigger
Here's
screen,
what
you know,
web pages look like.
This bigger
so.
screen.
OK Glass, Google, Steve Gillmor. And it's reading it to me, by the way. Now it picked up the wrong Steve Gillmor.
Right.
So let's try that
I'm
again.
counting on it.
So it's not using plus to decide which one's the right one then.
OK Glass, Google, Steve Gillmor of the Gillmor Gang. Still doesn't spell it right? And that shows you.
There it is.
So that shows you the text is still the commonplace names and things are not accurate, and that's where you notice the voice falls apart. It's,
Yeah. So what I'm trying to tease out here, Robert.
I meant Gillmor with 2 L's, and then it almost forces you. I wish it could go down to the cell phone where I could actually type and fix it.
Or it'll learn it. Right now it's not learning much, is it?
No, it's the Google Voice technology. It's not learning your voice really.
Right. And Siri doesn't learn, does it?
No, not really. Not that I know of.
I think Google learns globally, but not personally. Yeah, so they learn from all the voice they're getting, but they don't tune it just to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and there's no way to signal that that's the wrong thing. The computer should be smart enough, especially when I say Gillmor Gang, that it should switch into the context of use 2 L's.
So if you Google a thing, does it not? Can you not page through the results? Does it only show you one?
It shows you different cards, so I can scroll through the different cards, but it's very lightweight information. It's not a full web page. It's not a full web browser in there. It's designed for very lightweight, very little looking at this glass. These are some of the design choices that on one end are totally really nicely well thought out, but on the other hand are infuriating for geeks. And I would expect that as these things get rooted, that people are going to do all sorts of custom, put a web browser in there and stuff like that. Same way that the iPhone, when it gets jailbroken, the developers are doing all sorts of crazy stuff that Apple doesn't let them do. Right.
Right.
What's this conversation in the chat room about AirPlay? I'm not sure how that relates.
So that was me. That was me talking about you want control over nearby screens. So you want to have a sense of screens that are nearby, so you can use them as well. So in the same way that you can send the thing you're looking at on here to the TV, you would want the glasses thing of, okay, send that card to the phone, send that card to the TV, send that to the other screens nearby. So this is mapping into Keith's thing of you may not need to have a screen on your face if you can have a conversation with it and then take over a nearby screen.
Yeah, I mean, for example, we still are sticking to friend feed, which is a technology which basically had a very, very fast run up from being totally useless to being probably the best real-time chat mechanism ever, and then has been abandoned and lies fallow. But it's still, for the purposes of this conversation, this is this is much more than just fans. These are people who are in this chat include us, or everybody but me, there's the show is comprehensive in a way that even a chat room is not, because there's something about the real-time nature of this in conjunction with the real-time of the video that is additive rather than simply, it's greater than the sum of its parts. And I think that what Keith is saying is exactly right. And not that Robert and Kevin, you're not saying this. But
it's the Star Trek thing again. You talk
these surfaces.
You say on screen, don't you? And it goes on the big screen. So that's if you're using the Star Trek UX paradigm, which apparently Google is according to various articles. You talk to your little thing here and say computer, something's rather on screen, and it goes up on the screen.
Yeah, but I think there's something a little bit more, the nuance of what we our expressions. If you looked at a transcript of what we're saying, you might get one idea. If you looked at the expressions at the same time, you might get a completely different idea about what the conversation's really about. I mean,
And what's happening in the friend feed is Murray McDonald's making the point that Wi-Fi Direct is a better means of implementing that than AirPlay. Wi-Fi Direct's this.
Yeah, I'm just using AirPlay as an example. I don't think actually digitizing and sending video around that's an existence proof of finding nearby screens and sending content to it.
Yeah,
there's lots of better
Bluetooth
ways of
can
doing
do that as well.
Yeah, in fact, my Bluetooth here is seeing 2 digital TVs and offering them to me to pair with, which is the first time I've ever seen it. I've got a couple of LGs hanging in the office that do the monitoring for the servers. I think they probably have Bluetooth in them.
well, all of that's interesting, but to me, AirPlay is not about you and your TV set. It's not about you and your screen. It's about what the world of content has available and whether or not you can redirect it and manipulate it and move it around and share it ultimately with smaller, more efficient work groups. And I don't think AirPlay's there yet, but I think it's got a leg up in terms of the marketplace. So, there are all sorts of technologies, screen sharing technologies. What was that Apple codec? Or, God, it's still available.
QuickTime?
No, Kevin, it was for sharing text, collaborating in text in real time. Remember
An Apple codec.
It was an Apple function in the OS for people typing in multiple places.
Oh yeah, it's like I know what it was.
Yeah, I can't remember the name
I can't
of
remember what it's
it.
called
I'm
either.
shocked that Kevin.
In fact, Google acquired the company that did that.
Oh, you mean Salitha Edit?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's, that kind of technology's been around for a
You were
very
saying
long
Apple.
time.
I was thinking about Apple rather than a third-party thing. Yeah. No, there's Etherpad, which is the open source web version of that, which Mozilla owns and hosts, and there's the Google Drive API lets you do that too. They've got hooks to let you do that simple real-time collaboration using that same deferred edit hook thing.
But I'm imagining, getting up in my living room and saying, Google Steve Gillmor, and the screen on the wall can show me the results. Because I've decided that that's currently the target screen for the computer I'm wearing on my chest or whatever. By the way, in the chat room, I'm not wedded to the chest.
Steve Gillmor.
What I'm waiting for is the amplification of AirPlay so that it is two-directional, so it doesn't just go from the iPad to the TV, but it goes from iPad to iPad.
Right.
Basically visual links. What are you talking about? That ad for, remember BlackBerry? When was that? Oh, yeah. Well, they have a fantastic ad with screen sharing. Have you seen that ad?
Yeah.
It's remarkable, and so some version of that, I think, is the next stage for AirPlay. In other words, apps
we're
interoperating.
getting there. So
And it'll be a natural thing for Android, and this thing runs Android, and they're all plugged together. And you can get $40 little widgets you plug in the back of a TV set that basically put an Android device on the screen. So yeah, absolutely, that's going to happen.
And it's already happening. I'm sat here I've got a Mac here. I've got a piece of software on the Mac called Reflector.
Right.
If I join the same Wi-Fi network on my cell phone that my Mac's on, which I'll just do, I can target my Mac as the screen for my iPhone, and then I can share it with you guys, by the way, over Skype by using something called Desktop Presenter.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can even target you guys with what's on my screen here. And it isn't that hard to do.
Go ahead.
You want me to do it in just a minute? I've got to.
Yeah, but
I've got to do
he wants to show us in real time.
No, I'm not. Actually, I'm
how
not
his
showing you
company is doing, which
I'm not
I am
showing
interested in that.
I'm not showing you that.
Why not?
Well, because it isn't on my iPhone. I'm showing you my iPhone. So let me just. I've just got to do one thing, and this should work. If it doesn't, I'll switch right back. So the camera is going to change to this one.
That's a picture of you.
It is because it's waiting till it gets it.
This is very exciting.
And if it doesn't get it, it looks like it isn't getting it.
All right, well, while you switch back, Robert, so I want you to explain to me how we're going to bridge the gap between your excitement about this one device and where this is going to take the tech space in the next 3 to 6 months. Because a lot of what you were talking about is
first of all, it's not
years
out in the next 3 to 6 months. I mean, developers are.
But it's already had the impact that I think you're describing, which is that people are essentially dreaming about it.
Yeah, there's 3,000 developers who bought it at Google I/O. So there's quite a few in the hands of developers, and then there's another 5,000 that are going to be sold. It's certainly this is an ecosystem that's booting up right now, and so that's fun to watch. And every day a new app comes along, and I have a whole Flipboard magazine of stuff that I'm saving, and it's it'll be fun. But I think it really starts for the world when these get released next year. I assume they're going to get released in the first quarter of next year sometime.
And you think that what do you think is going to be the difference in the effect when it's more ubiquitous? What do you anticipate?
I mean, one of the arguments right now is, would I develop anything for this? There's only 5,000 in the world or 8,000 in the world. That's not enough of a market for me to dedicate my development efforts to. I'd rather go for the iPhone, which has I don't know how many 100 and something million iPhones are out in the world. So, if you're building a business, you have to think about timing issues here and think about where your effort should be for the best outcome for you. Now, if I was a 20-year-old kid and I knew how to code, I would probably spend 20% of my time on this, because as you get older and as these do get in the hands of people, there's going to be business there, and you're going to be positioned as one of the people who can build for this thing and understand it, right? And you'll have some apps in the store that probably are popular and are going to continue getting more popular over time. So there will be in the next 12 months some new big multi-billion-dollar companies born because of this, right? It might take 5 or 6 years for those companies to realize their value, but I'm completely convinced there's going to be new companies, new ideas, new things coming out for this that don't yet exist.
So here you go. I'm sharing with you. This is my iPhone. This is the Just Me public stream shown visually. This is the same thing shown as messages with audio and stuff. And next to it is real-time signups from all over the world. People signing up right now on the servers. And this is here on my screen, 2 screens. I'm sharing my iPhone screen, and I'm throwing my Chrome screen at you as well simultaneously. And the way I'm doing that is I'm throwing my iPhone screen first to my Mac, putting it alongside the Chrome screen. I'm holding my iPhone, and you can see the whole thing. So it feels to me like separation and being able to put screens in different places. That's the key.
Yeah. The way, Steve, another way I look at world of technology or world of product really is this is like a doubling penny. And one of my favorite questions is, would you rather have $100,000 today or a penny that doubles every day for a month? In other words, day 1 it starts with 1 penny, day 2 is 2 pennies, day 3 is 4 pennies, day 5 is 8 pennies, right? If you know math, that if you stay alive 30 days or 31 days, you're going to end up with $5.5 million or $11 million using the doubling penny. But all that growth comes at the end of the month. That's what VCs like to see, that exponential growth curve. It took Twitter 6 months to get to 13,000 users, and we forget that. Now we get that in a day. The first day of something out. But it's the doubling effect that matters. And so when I think about new technologies, if I want it to take 8 years, all I need to see is those 30 doubles or 31 doubles over 8 years. And yes, it doesn't seem like it's very important the first few doubles, the first 20 doubles even, right? But then all of a sudden, if it keeps doubling, that's when the law of exponents kick in, and when the audiences that's when the mass market shows up, and everybody thinks, oh, it happened overnight. No, it had been cooking for a long time. So this is an industry that is cooking and is doubling. Even today, it's doubling. And so does that continue to double over the next 10 years? I believe it will. And therefore, I believe a multi-$100 billion market's going to show up in the next 10 years on wearable computers like this. That gets me excited.
I agree with you on that. And by the way, I've totally screwed up my camera now because of what I did. You can't see me anymore, but you can hear me. And only if I reboot Skype is it going to come back. So we're near the end of the show, so I won't do that. But I agree with you, Robert. I think it's a huge business. I think wearable computing and the ability to distribute signal go together. And I think there'll be a big market for glass. I think there'll be a big market for other things as well. I call it swarms of devices that can link to each other.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin, you want to give us a wrap up here?
No, I think looking at the glass stuff and looking at the API particularly, it strikes me as it's and the next evolution of the notification APIs we've already got for this stuff. It's just a slight variation on a theme, but the basic idea is the same. You can send alerts to this thing that will queue them up. You can browse through them, and the challenge is going to be the same one that we've already got with those alerts, is they don't get swamped with noise and they don't fill up with rubbish, and make sure we install apps that behave well with them. And that's going to be the challenge of this in future. But if every Facebook update went to your glasses, that would drive you mad. And so they've got to be careful they don't do that. They've got to make sure they send the right ones to it. And I'm not sure that the incentives are in place for somebody like Facebook to do that. But I can certainly see that as a useful updates and information is going to be a big business, and that's definitely going to be part of it. Updates to your eyes there.
Facebook has done a somewhat of a job of giving you automatic noise filtering on notifications and manual controls per person of notifications. So if Steve Gillmor gets too noisy all of a sudden and doesn't send me anything of value, I can do two things to him. I can remove him from my close friends feed and put him in my acquaintance feed, which means I get far fewer notifications from him. Or I can just say no more notifications from Steve, and he goes away in terms of notifications. Can that get better? Absolutely. But I think Facebook's actually in leadership there. Google Plus doesn't give me that kind of noise controls, and Twitter doesn't give me that kind of noise controls. So
yeah, but we've had this argument before. What Facebook does, unfortunately, is remove your ability to modify the controls except through extremely time-consuming signals.
The one thing that Google knows, by the way, is they know my calendar. They know that I'm in a meeting, or right now I'm on Gillmor Gang, and it's blocked on my calendar. So it could block all notifications until 3 o'clock when my calendar comes free, and then all of a sudden it could show me everything that had queued up in that time frame. That wouldn't be hard to do. That'd be one way to help with this problem.
Well, that's to my point, though, which is that if you had that configurable so you could turn it on and off. I mean, that's why the chat room is so important. That's why the monitoring Twitter signals is so important on this show. Is that something happens, we can pivot to it. This is a real-time environment. So if you had the choice, that would be excellent. And unfortunately, Facebook, for whatever reasons, and I'm really not sure that they are technical, avoids the kinds of things that could really put some pressure on Twitter, for example. They've got a tremendous backbone there of information, and since you've shown me, Robert, how to turn on close friends, I've been able to improve my notification stream significantly and compare it with Twitter. But Twitter, as we saw with the Boston events, is an unparalleled information stream and will continue to be so. You had something to say, Keith?
Just segueing to Twitter, Facebook, and related companies, did you guys note that LinkedIn's stock dropped 13% because they missed earnings yesterday? And going back to what we opened with, which was Facebook earnings, I still think that these companies are dominated by the transition we're all going through. That part of what we've been talking about today is change, and change is disruptive to all models. And I just think they've got their work cut out just to be around 5 years from now and be as big and strong as they are today and not turn out to be AOL.
Yeah, I think that the chance of, I think Facebook is going to have some challenges because they have such a huge audience. They're going to have the tyranny of the crowd, I think, comes into place. Into play with them. Twitter, I think, has a lot of upside to go. I think Apple's in the strongest position it's ever been in, contrary to some of the people on this show.
They went up to 40% of US smartphone market share today.
Yeah.
All right, Robert, just your wrap up, and then let's blow this pop stand.
No, it's been an interesting week, and I think this will be a slow burning product. That it'll have moments where when it comes out, that'll get a lot of people excited, but then it'll be a long burn to get the apps and the expectations met of this product, and also take on some of the stuff that's come up. Is the average person ready to wear something on their face all the time? Geeks like me are, but how soon will the average person get converted into wearing something? My wife, for instance, does not like this. She doesn't see, and it's really interesting that she says, I don't see enough utility in it. In other words, she expected it to do things like face detection and augmented reality, and it doesn't do any of that. So she's like, why would I wear this just to see my notifications? She doesn't yet see enough value in it or enough utility in it. If Google can get, and by the way, if Apple or Microsoft or whoever else is going to build these can get to that place where she says, man, that is really cool, then the mainstream will start showing up in droves. I think that's 3, 5, 7 years away, somewhere in that window. But that doesn't mean that this won't be a very successful product right out the gate if they price it right. If they price it at $200, this is going to be a pretty sizable product, and it's going to certainly get the Gillmor Gang audience, enough of us, excited and buy it.
Well, I guess, the market said, well, not the market, the pundits said that the iPad mini was too expensive. Turned out they were wrong.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a larger upside for Google than the $200 price point.
Great.
But we'll find out. All right. I want to thank Rackspace and particularly Rob Legess for sponsoring this show. Without them, we would not be on the air. Well, if we would be doing something different because Tina wouldn't be here and it would be a different show. I guess we could do Hangouts. But I want to thank our producer and director, Tina Chase Gillmor, for everything that she does. And I want to thank the chat room, as always. You guys are indispensable. I want to thank our guests, Robert Scoble, Keith Teare, or a simulacrum of him.
I'm waving.
Okay, excellent. And the ubiquitous Kevin Marks. Thanks, Kevin. All right, well, we'll see you again next time. If there's, I want to thank everybody who showed up, and please keep coming back. Talk to you again. Bye-bye.